So today marks the 101st anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. And as is tradition, my sister and I watched Titanic last night. And we started actually close to when the Titanic first hit the iceberg. RMS Titanic hit the iceberg April 14th, 11:40 p.m., 1912. And it was a Sunday. Last night was Sunday, April 14th. Weird, right? Especially it's like so close to the 100th anniversary. I think if last year would have been a Sunday, 100 years, that would have just been creepy. So, but yeah, we watched Titanic, and I love the movie, don't get me wrong. But towards the end, I was starting to take issue with some of the characters, and it brought up the question of, should the captain go down with the ship? And I personally believe that yes, it is a captain's duty to go down with the ship. It is the honorable thing to do. It is a maritime tradition. And my sister disagrees with this. She thinks that if it's possible for them to save themselves, they should. And so curious, I looked it up last night. There is no legal law saying that a captain must go down with the ship. It is merely just a tradition. And there have been recent cases. The cruise ship liner, for instance, he jumped ship beforehand. And one of the things the captain is responsible for, the captain is responsible for the safety of the crew and passengers. And so by going down with the ship, it's kind of you've done everything in your power to save everyone and the ship, but there's nothing more that you can do, kind of thing. And I think that Captain Edward Smith was honorable to go down with the ship. And he was originally intending to retire after sailing the Titanic across the Atlantic. So it's sort of fitting. It's still sad, but, at least he wasn't like the one owner dude who just jumped into one of the lifeboats. And my sister's like, oh, well, there weren't that many people around as per the movie, but we don't know what it was like in real life if this guy was just being a coward and just jumped into a lifeboat. The fact is there weren't enough lifeboats for everyone by half. And the fact that he jumped into a lifeboat to begin with, even if there was no one else going into the boat, there were over 1,500 people that died. There were 462, I think, seats of lifeboats that could have had someone in them. And when you are responsible for that many people, like if it's your ship, you are the captain, you own the company or something, you should sacrifice yourself for those other people, Just one of the things that irks me. But I was doing lots of research last night. I've always been interested in Titanic, started back when the film first came out in 1997, and I was like 3rd, 4th grade. So last night I was looking up some facts. There were a lot of extenuating circumstances that they couldn't have taken into account, and I think the ship was just destined to sink to begin with. But one of the things I did read was that Captain Smith canceled a lifeboat drill that was supposed to take place the day that the ship hit the iceberg on April 14th, which is kind of weird. It doesn't say why he canceled it, just that he did, but if the drill had taken place, more lives could have been saved. And I think a lot of people at the time weren't taking the situation seriously, because a lot of them thought that, oh, this ship is unsinkable. The ship is made of steel and iron. Okay, those are two very heavy things. And if water is taken in, if the ship takes on water, there is no way in hell the ship is not going to sink. It's going straight to the bottom of the ocean. You can bet on it. And it did. And, it had the watertight containers at the bottom of the ship. And the thing about those was the water got in one of them, and then it got to the top, and it spilled over the top because they didn't go all the way to the top. It also said that because I think the watertight containers only went to the E deck, if they had gone up to D deck, just one more level, it might not have been as bad. And also, if the ship could handle 4, but 5 had been filled, which is partly why, because here's your ship, gradually fills over. Well, you've all seen the movie, you've all seen all of that, the forensics of it, but I don't need to go into that. But more facts. The night was calm. The water was calm. There wasn't a moon, so they couldn't see much. The water was still. And the iceberg was called a blackberg, which if you're familiar with black ice, it's a bit like that. It's caused by the continuous melting and then refreezing. And so it's glassy and clear, and it reflects objects, and you basically can't see it until you're right on top of it. And it was a very small iceberg, and only 1/10 of the iceberg was sticking up above the water, 9/10 of it was under. This is all icebergs, which makes them impossible to move, even with something as big as Titanic. And the ship was cruising right along, because we wanted to make headlines. And so, it's night. Oh, another thing. Where was it that I read it? There were multiple notes on the ice, and the telegram dude was too busy sending out messages from the passengers and taking messages from the passengers to, he just ignored these ice warnings. So I don't know if the captain never got the ice warnings or what, but that's another thing. And then Murdoch ordered the engines to be reversed, and it said that if the Titanic had been going forward the whole time, that it could have actually turned and probably missed the iceberg altogether instead of hitting the side. Because they said that if it hit it head on, it would have had less of an impact than hitting it sideways. Because when it hit it sideways, it cut a huge gouge. It gouged about a quarter of the size of the ship. And even though there was a really small spot that was really just letting in water, it was just too much, So there were lots of extenuating circumstances. And then I was reading about the life vests, because I said, there weren't enough lifeboats. There weren't enough seats on lifeboats for everyone on the ship. I said to my sister, they probably should have had at least enough life jackets. And she didn't seem to think they did. So I looked it up, and they did have enough life jackets, which was good. Except another thing I learned about the life jackets is that they were made of cork, I think is what I've read. Differing things on the life jackets, but one of them said they were made of cork underneath the fabric. And when people were jumping off the ship, if they jumped higher than 10 feet, their necks would be broken by the life jacket, and they would die instantly, which is probably better than freezing to death in the 31-degree water, but they still died. And the ship was never christened, which is, I don't know if you know anything about nautical, but it is a tradition, and it's bad luck to not christen a ship. And when the ship is leaving port for the first time, you're supposed to smash a bottle of champagne against it to christen it. Well, White Star Line didn't believe in that, so they didn't christen it. And then the other weird things, I remember there was a book called Titan, and it was written quite a while before Titanic, but it was just eerily similar. Someone was predicting the future, and this is going to happen. This is the biggest ship ever built, and it's going to hit an iceberg and sink in April, and everyone's going to die. and this is what happened, and it's just creepy. So, back to topic though. Woo! What's your opinion? Should a captain go down with the ship, or should he abandon ship? If my personal opinion is only if everyone else, the crew, the passengers, everyone else is safely off the ship, can the captain then abandon ship. But again, it's kind of an honor thing. So, what's your opinion? And one more bit of food for thought. Turns out that the Carpathia wasn't the closest ship. The California was. They saw the distress signals and they ignored them. They could have gotten there in time to save people, but they ignored it. And then they didn't realize it until morning. They're like, oh shit, the Titanic's sinking. Oh, too late, the Titanic's at the bottom of the ocean and 1,500 some people died. Oops. Hindsight, bitch. So, happy Monday, and let me know what you think. Bye.